All right, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, race fans here on the GP Hydro live streaming. We're back live here at Lake Macquarie for round 4 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. We've had a terrific race in the sports class earlier, and it's going to be another ripper race here in the superboats today. They're just setting out onto their sighting lap, and we'll run you through the poles in sports, in Supercat 600, the outboard category boats. They've got two 300 horsepower outboard engines. Pole 1 is the Sting, our championship leaders, and they have pretty much locked in the championship lead, locked in the championship win. They're in pole 1. Pole 2 is TCR Racing, Scott Richardson and Stephen Kelly. They're starting in pole 2, obviously. Pole 3, Team 77 AMT, Andy Taylor and Paul Folds. They are last year's champions. And then pole 4 is the Mantis ex-Saracen, Andy Defina and Matt Kelly. They're sitting second in the championship. They're starting 4th today. Moving up to the Supercat Extreme, as you see them coming across the start-finish line here, we have 222 Offshore, Team Navy, the UIM Class 1 World Champions over in the States. They just won that championship a few weekends ago. They're starting in pole 2. Darren Nicholson and Peter Muddy McGrath, a couple of legends of offshore powerboat racing. Then we have Superbad, the rookie team, but as John said, by no means rookie talent. They are absolute competitors. Stevie Jallick and Ryan Coleman, they're in pole 1. It's going to be a ripper of a race in all these classes today as the final boat, Team 77 AMT, comes across to start the sighting lap. We'll run you through the championship standings in Supercat 600. The Sting had a ripper season so far, their first full season, and they've won absolutely every race apart from the couple in Harvey Bay, the last round, where Saracen brought it to them. They've actually just installed a set of Mercury Racing 300R 4-stroke engines on the back of that boat, and this is the first race with those engines. So who knows, will the pace be there? Will they be working with a few teething issues? Who knows? Saracen, second in the championship. For Saracen to win this championship, the Sting need to DNF in every single race, and Saracen need to win every single race. So don't count it out, but it's quite unlikely. And the Sting, the team of Mike Ratcliffe and Carl Wall, supremely talented, and they've put together a really, really sharp boat. So I will struggle to imagine them having any DNFs this weekend, despite the new engines. We see in Supercat Extreme, as they are starting to settle into their poles, our championship leader, 222 Offshore. They're only just clear of Superbad. They have won every race this season, but Superbad have been consistently finishing and gathering points. And all it's going to take this weekend is for 222 to have a bit of a failure. Maybe something breaks, they muck something up, they get a penalty, who knows? And Superbad will be commentating with me, obviously. We did last race and it was ripper time, so we'll pass the mic over to John and we'll have a chat about these racecraft.
Thanks very much there, Ben, and yes, certainly a delight to be working with you. But we're here for the racing, and as we look back out over towards Warners Bay on this sighting lap, it is incredibly important because the crews get a chance to actually lock in all of their nav marks. Yes, it's done electronically, but you remember you've got to have the driver looking probably a few hundred metres in advance, and the throttleman will be looking probably something more in the order of maybe 30 or 40 metres in advance to ensure that the throttles are at the correct position for turns, waves. Not that we have many here today because Lake Macquarie has turned on magnificent weather. Thank you to Lake Macquarie. But it's a very important team aspect, and Ben touched on that before. So we've got Superbad out here. They worked really hard on that boat when they bought it, have cleaned it all up, got it running superbly. We're delighted for them. They've got new screws on today. So those surface piercing screws are incredibly important, called surface piercing because only half of the blade is in the water. The rest of it is in the air. That's why they spin so quickly. And as they come roaring past, up in Warners Bay at the moment, you'll see the size of the rooster tail. It's incredible. Something really wonderful to watch. It's probably 5 boat lengths out the back, and there's this wonderful rooster tail. So this sighting lap is really important to the crews. With the Supercat Extreme, as we've mentioned, you've got Superbad on the inside track, inside running, and 222 Offshore with the big Navy livery there on the outside track. Wonderful to see them all lined up. We've also got now the Supercat outboard category all lined up. You've got vessels there with the new 4-stroke 300Rs, and then you've got TCR running the old 3.2 litre stroker. They're the direct injection 2-stroke motor with the extra noise. But coming back around now, as they lead into Spears Point, you probably just start to hear in the background the noise. Wait for it until it comes past the front, because it's something special. And there you go with the rooster tail, and they haven't even opened up the throttles yet. Wonderful to see. We've got Sting on the inside, then AMT, Garrison, and TCR is outside. That's correct. So we're going to be ready for racing. 30 minutes, high octane, high energy. You wouldn't have any other way. And the throttles are open. Here we go. Let's stand by for some really high energy. We've just got to get past the start line, and then it's all opened up. Ben?
Absolutely it is. The start boat's going to wait until they are satisfied with the line that the race boats are in before releasing them. The white flag's up. You can hear the V8s rumbling, almost roaring, and the white flag has dropped. We are racing Superbad to 222 as they gun past the start finish straight. You couldn't fit a cigarette paper between those two boats as they're absolutely gunnel to gunnel, deck to deck, tipping into the first turn. We'll have a look and wait for the Supercat 600 boats to cross that start finish line before they drop the throttles and roar off into turn 1. It's Sting on the inside, then TCR, then 77 AMT, then the Mantis. The Mantis gets a great start. The torque of those 300R V8s absolutely pulling them out of the water. It looks as if it's then to TCR, and the Sting and AMT look to be pretty level with each other. The racing in the Supercat class, the Supercat Extreme, looks to be absolutely as tight as you'll ask for. Superbad still have the inside line, and they still have the nose ahead of the 222 Offshore rig there as they come along the back straightaway, reaching speeds into the 200 kilometres an hour. That is absolutely blindingly fast as the Supercat 600s negotiate the first turn. They'll be popping out now, and it looks as if TCR's in the lead. Wow, we haven't seen this all season. It then looks as if it's the Mantis, then the Sting, and AMT are still close together, actually rubbing the gunnels by the looks of things. They're Superbad. Still have that lead over 222, but it is marginal. I mean, you're splitting hairs to decide the leader there, and that's the racing that we've grown to expect and love here from these two boats and in these categories here. TCR, they've had a rough season here. With some massive engine problems, and actually before this race they've put a whole new power head on an engine, a midsection I believe on another engine. They've really been overhauling the power plants on that boat, and it's good to see them sitting in second place at the moment. Mantis have just pipped the nose ahead around the outside. Yeah, TCR's on the inside negotiating that left-hander, but Saracen have the good run holding a bit more speed. It then looks to be AMT and Sting with the new 300Rs just finding their feet, figuring the boat out, just in fourth place at the moment, but that's no biggie. They're just, as I said, teething issues perhaps, or just trying to negotiate, understand the characteristics of the new engines. They've tested a few times, but you can never truly test a race situation when you're out just in a test session. As we hear the big block V8s roar as they negotiate the final turn, peeling back onto our front straightaway. Who's it going to be in the lead in the Supercat Extreme category? It is Superbad by half a boat's length. Then to Navy on the inside, the 222. They're going to have a good run through the inside as they're just going to poke a nose up in front of the Superbad. And wow, I really have to shout to be heard over these boats. They are some of the loudest things on the planet. It is absolutely great racing in that category. The Mantis have a good lead over 77 AMT, who have just overhauled TCR, who still have maybe a 12 boat length gap to the Sting. John?
Thanks there, Ben. And what a wonderful sound that is. If that doesn't get the blood pumping, then you need to go see the cardiologist. However, what we do want to talk about is there's onboard footage from Saracen as they go past the Mantis. That's available to you off the Facebook page, which is Offshore Superboat Championship. You'll notice that's the 300 Rs. Then the two vessels going through the line now are running the 2 strokes, and then we're back to the new 4 strokes on the Sting. They're just going to make sure that they stay with the fleet. They've just got to finish, and they're going to take all the silverware for the season in the class, including the 2 Victorian rounds that were held earlier. And they're absolutely delighted about that, let me tell you. So delighted they keep mentioning it, which is wonderful for them, because this really is a class full of spirit and competition, which is just what we want. But for now, Matt Kelly and Club Commodore Anthony Defina have managed to strike out a significant lead there. They're going to be very thrilled with that, really thrilled in fact, because they're a crew that want to do very, very well. Superbad's out, and if I'm not wrong, I'm seeing a few puffs of smoke, which is not good. They wondered how many hours might be in the engines. We might have found that it's probably about 5 minutes. That is very sad news. Still idling currently, maybe on 1 engine. We'll find out. Here comes 222 with the noise up into Spears Point. But yes, if you're here at Marmong Point, if you look out almost due east, you'll see very faint blue smoke. Blue means oil. And that's very, very, very sad indeed. But Supercat outboard, the Mantis. Well, the Mantis is so called because it eats hornets. And the competition between them and the Sting with Mike Ratcliffe and Carl Wall is significant. But here we go with Peter and Darren coming roaring back through, so you'll really find it quite hard to hear. And they've got the boat open up, really opened up. That vessel's actually running a pair of brand new engines, being built up by Barbara Gallo, I dare say. And what a wonderful thing that is. And what a wonderful sound, and obviously those motors are running incredibly well. But we look back over, and yes, the Mantis got a wonderful running attitude, bow up and really running hard. Wow. This is, of course, a class that doesn't have a speed limitation. There are no GPS units to be pulled out at the end. Nobody's going to ping you if you're over. In fact, the more over you can be, the better. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah, that's spot on, John. And we can really see that, as he said, the Mantis has pulled out a huge lead, even over these first 2 laps, as the Sting just poking their nose in front of TCR, excuse me. The Mantis, look at the attitude of that boat. It's sitting up out of the water, it's fast, it's collected, and that's where the pace is. They're accelerating hard with the torque of those V8 4-stroke 300 Rs. And holding it down the straight, just skimming over the water. AMT Marine, Paul Folds and Andy Taylor doing a great job. Andy Taylor steering that boat, and Paul Folds on the throttles. Here comes the Sting. They've got a boat's length lead over Team TCR. As we said earlier, the new engines on the back of the Sting, so they'll be finding their feet. And as I also mentioned, the gremlins that TCR have suffered throughout this season is... even with the new power heads, they're really struggling to get that boat to the point that it could be and should be. But not to worry, they had a good start, so we'll look for the positives here. As Saracen have got, you can't even put a distance on the lead that they have over the AMT. And I'd say sorry if we go back and forth between calling it Saracen and the Mantis. It's used to be called Saracen, and it's now called the Mantis. As John mentioned, the rivalry between the Sting and Saracen, or now the Mantis. The Mantis is the real enemy of the Hornet, which is of course the mascot of the Sting. So good to see the rivalry and the competitiveness in this class. It's like the sports classes, there's a lot of competitive nature and some really, really talented racers and some really, really good boats. Here's one. Have a listen to the V8s.
And anybody at Marmong Point probably had a very good time there to observe the steps in the side of the hulls of the 222 Offshore Navy boat. Steps are used to gain extra air under the vessel, and we've just had the wind increase from the north, probably slightly northwest, and added something like about maybe 3 knots, maybe 4 knots of extra pressure. Now, when the boats are coming back up, that's really going to help them lift as the wind goes roaring through the tunnel between the two hulls. Talking about roaring, the Mantis has stepped out a lead of probably 250 to 300 metres over AMT. So you're looking at 4-stroke power versus 2-stroke power. Back in third position is the Sting, running brand new 4-stroke power, and then TCR with 2-stroke power behind them. And that's a really interesting thing to show that the older 2-stroke technology is still delivering horsepower. There's nothing wrong with it, but we're seeing that once the Mantis sorted out a few of their issues, got the right screws on board, and then we wave to them as they go. There goes the Mantis, looking for prey in the form of hornets. I'm not sure they're going to be able to lap them today, but we will see. We will see. They're certainly quick enough. And AMT go roaring through with Paul Folds and Andy Taylor from the Gold Coast. Big shout out to Lake Macquarie. Thank you again to the Empire Marina, David Randall and the crew. We love your work. Thank you so much. Here goes the Sting. This is a slightly narrower tunnel boat. In other words, the two hulls are slightly together, and that boat goes around corners. If you're at one of the corners, whether that's at Warners Bay or Spears Point, you'll see just how quickly that thing goes around the corner. In fact, in a lot of instances, they'll corner quicker than the bigger, more powerful Supercat Extreme. And that's because the power heads turn, the screws, and also the whole outboard turns for turning, whereas the Supercat Extreme has those long surface piercing drives, probably about 1.5 meters long, sticking out the back of the vessel, and then a rudder in the middle. So they don't turn quite as quickly, but of course once you put the hammers down, blindingly quick, and can reach up to 240. Here today they'll probably make about 200 kilometres an hour. Trim is a really important aspect on any boat, and the crews work collectively as well as with the power to ensure that the vessels are at the right attitude. And in the case of those surface piercing drives, they are operated off a hydraulic ram that adjusts the attitude to get the vessel running at the correct angle. Too much wind, no good, you can do a backflip. Not enough wind and the bows are in. We're looking out very, very sadly towards Superbad. Ryan and Steve and Inga and Sian and the rest of the gang, because it is a wonderful gang. We're very, very, very sorry, and condolences there. The lid's open. Not sure what we can add to that whole experience other than terribly, terribly sad. Meanwhile, blindingly up into the corner at Spears Point comes yet again the Mantis, probably stretched that lead now out to 450 metres over AMT. We're delighted that AMT, who have had a bit of a roller coaster season, they appear to be able to open the boat right out today. We're loving that. I bet they are even more than we are, however, Ben. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely would be, and just keeping an eye on the communications with race control to see if we hear anything about the troubles that Superbad have run into. But wow, look at the way the Mantis is sitting. It's a good thing to look at, really, and that's the thing with this sort of, it just looks good. Hey, when those boats are really moving at those sort of speeds and sitting so beautifully, it's just an amazing thing to watch. AMT Racing is also looking spectacular out on that water. They were last year's Supercat 600 champions and actually the Oz 1 champions. So a really successful year last year, but this year they've had a few niggles here and there. They've a few technical issues in Wyndham Harbour. They actually spun that boat round, so they've had a bit of misfortune throughout this season. But today they're putting on a good show. They've got the pace down the straights and it appears in the corners, but they just can't match that torque and the punch that those 300Rs on the back of the Mantis provide. As the Sting really start to put a gap on TCR, who are still struggling with the power plant and their engine. 222 coming back across the start finish line. It's almost just not even worth me talking because they are so loud. I just have a pause, but they're putting on some beautiful laps and really showing you why they are the Class 1 champions. If you get the chance, guys, here at Lake Macquarie, walk through the pits. It's a really good site. Get to check out the sports boats, of course. There's some really nice teams, as I mentioned earlier. And check out the show that 222 are running with their big Pantech support truck, all liveried up in the matching navy livery and the boat and the trailer. They're well put together, and it shows with them winning the Class 1 championship with a lot of tough competition, and at this point looking as if they're going to win the Australian championship too. So a very successful year. They've taken home a lot of silverware, and they'd be absolutely pleased with that. It's really just a shame to see the Superbads sitting in the middle. They're a really good team. They're dedicated racers. As we mentioned earlier, Ryan Coleman is the owner of that boat, and it's his first year racing that boat. He's in the boat with Steve Jellick, a very accomplished offshore powerboat racer. Raced a lot of different categories, won in a lot of different categories. So he's the perfect man to be paired with Ryan Coleman, and they've put on a great performance this year. So it's a shame to see today's outcome.
Back to Supercat outboard. If you're looking, you'll see that the green AMT marine vessel has actually covered back at least half of that 400-metre gap that the Mantis had put on. That's a wonderful sign. And here comes the Sting, desperate to close the gap down themselves. So in the next 20 minutes, we're going to see how wonderful this category is as well and how close. So here comes AMT, who've actually taken the Mantis on that top turn. And indeed, Mantis don't look to have the throttles pinned, so we're wondering what's going to be going on there. They're not as fast as the previous lap, as you probably saw. Shortly, we'll have the 222 racing craft overtake TCR, and a moment after that, it will be the Sting.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting to see that AMT have just pipped the Mantis. I wonder what happened down in that bottom turn, whether the Mantis got a bit sideways or maybe they're nursing a bit of a problem. Who knows? But we love to see the close racing as 222 storms down the front straightaway. AMT really look to be putting on a bit of a gap to the Mantis. So who knows what's that about? Maybe the Mantis is nursing some gremlins today, or maybe they've just had a rough few runs through the last turns. But it's really good to see that the AMT have found some pace and overhauled the Mantis, putting on a good show for everyone here at Lake Macquarie and, of course, watching at home on the GP Hydro live streaming. And we've just had some big news from Race Control about last race, our sports classes, that Thunderstruck in the 65 mile an hour category actually broke out, did 66.3 miles an hour. So that's a disqualification for them. They've gone 1.3 miles over, and as we mentioned, we told you about the exceeding speed punishments, and so they are disqualified, unfortunately, of that race. But they'll be coming back with all the fire in the bellies you could imagine for the race after this one. But back to this particular Supercat race, as AMT and Saracen, or the Mantis, beg your pardon, come through that top turn and start to negotiate that right-hand dogleg. AMT have a little bit of a lead over the Mantis, who have the outside line. Mantis setting themselves up for the bottom turn, going around the outside of the dogleg, gives them a little bit of a look through the inside of the bottom turn. If they can come in a little bit deeper and hold a bit more speed and get those 300Rs barked up on the way out, they'll be able to have a good crack at AMT down this front straightaway. We saw Saracen actually do a similar move on AMT last year at Harvey Bay, and well, frankly, they got it wrong and they put the boat on its lid. Hopefully none of that today, though. It's never a good sight to see a boat go over on its lid, as 222 overhaul the Sting.
Indeed, if you look at the Mantis as it comes through now, you'll notice that it's actually got the correct attitude again, and I suspect it's closed down a little bit of that distance. Indeed it has. So maybe they've worked out a few of the gremlins as we wave as they go by. Well done to AMT. Paul Folds and Andy Taylor will be loving that. But the Mantis is back and running, and I would say in about the next half a lap they might well and truly be back in the lead or hunting for it. Here comes 222, listen to it, and there it goes. And the Sting is also now starting to open up, so we're going to see the top three of the Supercat outboard start to close up, and it'll become even more interesting than it is now. But if you look at 222, you'll notice that they're running at a wonderful attitude, and that's kind of like the whole team. They really don't put a thing wrong. Very fast, very slick, and very capable. Loving the TCR entry with Steve Kelly at the helm. And we're glad that they're out still circulating. Hopefully they can continue to find some of the issues that are not allowing them the top end speed.
Certainly, and as we look towards the back straightaway, we can see the Mantis has had a great run out of the turn 1 and turn 2 complex as they are just sneak the nose up the inside in front of the AMT. So good to see that they've got that boat back under control, got the attitude right, and have got it sorted through the corners. There's a really nice move that last half a lap, you know, going a bit deeper and harder through that bottom turn and having a good run down the straight and sorting the job out in turn 1 and 2. It shows the racecraft of Anthony Defina and Matt Kelly, but it's still close. AMT are not letting this one happen easily as they negotiate the left-hander at the top of the straight into the right-handed dogleg. Saracen taking the outside line for this. AMT on the inside, they'll try and sneak it up. It's a fast, wide corner. They might be able to just sneak the nose up inside, but as we said last lap, that'll give the Mantis the inside line for the bottom turn as 222 hunt them down as well.
And that's exactly right. The really interesting thing is here, if you're at Marmong Point, there's every chance that 222 will be on top of the two Supercat outboard vessels by the time they come around. It will be close. Maybe it'll be just after, but stand by because they're just running into Spears Point now. Remember, the outboard boats corner a little bit quicker than the larger 40-foot Supercat Extreme vessels due to the whole power delivery system and rudders. Watch out as we come down in front of the start-finish line. No doubt you're going to see three vessels all with the hammers wide open, and we're going to see that just about now. Here we go. Indeed, here comes the Mantis, AMT, and look out, because on the march is the big V8s. This is great stuff. You probably noticed Navy jumped the wake a little bit there. Well done. Muddy on the throttles doing a fantastic job of controlling that boat. It really is such a skill set. And Peter McNeil, Muddy, wonderful racer indeed.
Yeah, great racing through especially through the 600 horsepower category at the moment. It's really, really cool to see AMT and the Mantis having a bit of a ding-dong battle for first and second spot as the Mantis just really starts to pull that lead back out as they negotiate the first turn. They're coming up onto the back straight with a few hundred metres between them now. 222 just getting round AMT, and it shows that these Supercat 600 boats really do have some pace. 222's only just overhauled AMT. They've gone around the outside of them. These 600 horsepower boats are seriously quick boats. And the racing is really tight. All season it's been really, really good. The camaraderie, the sportsmanship and the passion in this class. It's a really, really good class, really fast boats, really talented drivers. As 222 just go around the outside of the Mantis, leaving them plenty of room. Obviously they're in a different class. They're on the same race course at the same time, sort of like the 85 mile an hour and the 65 mile an hour boats, but they're not racing each other. They're in their own classes, so 222 will hopefully be giving them plenty of room, not disturbing them and letting them continue this great battle with AMT. And it looks as if, Yeah, that gap's staying pretty similar. They've both got those boats pretty tidy at the moment, and yeah, it's really, really good to see the competitiveness.
Of course, if you're here at Lake Macquarie, please make yourself available to go and see the boats and the crews at Empire Marina here at Marmong Point. It's an open pit area. Obviously, if boats are being manoeuvred, the crane signs are out and the witches' hats to make sure that you don't go under the vessels, but within reason, it's all open, all available for you to go and talk with them. That's part of the family nature of this. The Sting have got posters to hand out. They'll even sign them for you. So if you see Mike and Carl and you'd like a signed poster, I'll make it happen for you. We're going to get loud. It's called fast and loud for a reason. 200 kilometres an hour fast and over 16 litres of loud through a straight pipe. Well, there you go. It's not called slow and boring, it's called fast and loud. And here we go, the Mantis is opening it up again. Yes, that vessel's definitely running correctly. Whatever they had to sort out, they clearly did, because they're flying along. The Sting should be along shortly, but AMT, congratulations. As I say, they've had a little bit of a roller coaster, bit of yin, bit of yang, but today definitely it's all gold for them, and we're really delighted to see that, because it means that they're going to have smiles on their dials, and the more smiles, the better it is for everybody. Here comes the Sting. Yes, they're going to complete the weekend, and if they do that, they're going to take away the last piece of silverware for the year. They've won everything else along the way. And the new motors, whilst quiet, certainly delivering a hell of a punch there, Ben. Hell of a punch.
Hell of a punch indeed. As 222 came across the front straight away, you really just see the attitude of that boat. The back, only the back meter is sitting in the water of that boat, and it's really just sitting on the props. Just floating above the water. That's where the pace in these catamarans comes from. They get the air underneath them and force it down that tunnel, which is actually narrower at the back to sort of compress that air a little bit and give them lift. And the whole shape of the hull of the boat, the deck, it's really just like a plane wing. It's designed to give the boats lift, because as we know, you try and walk through water. If you go down to the beach and you walk through water, it's a lot of drag, a lot of resistance from that water. So the fastest way to travel through the water in these boats is essentially to get out of it. So these boats, they trim them the right way, and the rooster tails will actually flatten out. And the boats will rise up out of the water and just sit on the drives, and that's really where the pace is. And watch as 222 and as the Mantis come along the front straightaway, you'll see the front really just wiggling around through the air as it just sits on those props and reaches those top speeds. It's a really impressive thing to watch, and it's really cool to think about. And as we see, the Superbad is attached to a tow rope, getting towed in by one of our Marshall boats, one of our safety boats. They're going to be towed back to the pit, so that can't be good news if they're on the back of the tow rope. Clearly out of power or out of drive. Here, look at 222, look at the attitude of the boat. Right about now, it's really just that tiniest little bit of hole in the water, and the front just wiggles itself up into the air. As the rooster tails flatten out as they're reaching those speeds of well into the 200 kilometre an hour mark.
One of the ways to tell how fast a boat is how little weight it's leaving, and if you're here, you're seeing it first hand close up. Not even 20 centimetres high. And yet these boats are doing the kind of speeds they're doing in excess of 160 kilometres an hour in the case of the Supercat outboard, and well and truly 200 plus in the case of Supercat Extreme. And that means that the boats are quick. If you're pushing water, it'll never work out so well for you. Big effort here from TCR. They're going to complete the round, which is just wonderful. Remember to have a look also on the live stream. You can access that off the Facebook page, which is Offshore Superboat Championship, and you'll see what it's looking like for the crews from the inside, because all of the material's coming up from the Mantis. Wonderful stuff. Great to see the Sting out hammering now. I suspect there's even a little bit more in that boat. They're just going to keep working it out. And here comes TCR with the two strokers. That little high-pitched whine. Wonderful stuff. Yes, terribly sad to see Superbad just effectively limping there. It's very ordinary, and again, heart's bleeding. Many thanks to Lake Macquarie for bringing you Fast and Loud. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Hope you're enjoying it just as much as we are. Here comes 222 back out again for another turn at Spears Point. And that would mean the Mantis is just about to go into the Warners Bay area. If you've got your FM 88.9 on, you'll be hearing us talk about it. You can go to superboat.com.au to find links to videos, the live stream, also, of course, galleries and news. We're going to be very close to a finish somewhere soon about now. We'll give you a heads up on that, but it's imminent, shall we say, imminent. And here comes 222.
That's 222 passing the finish line for what could be the last time in this race. Based on our timing information, we can assume that this will be 222's last lap. So the way that works, they're half-an-hour races, and once that 30 minutes is up, they finish the lap that they're on. So it's the lead boat that takes the checkered flag, which in this case is 222.
If you're here at Marmong Point, you'll notice that the little appearance of whitecaps has happened. That means we're well and truly past the 10 to 12, not a breeze category. That little ripple will make it very, very, very fun for the boats heading back up from the bottom mark into Warners Bay. Just gives that little bit more of a jiggle wiggle. And Ben, you've been out there racing in the Mantis. Tell us a little bit about driving experience in one of these very, very fast machines.
Yeah, look, it's a pretty cool experience. Obviously, one man steers and one throttles that boat, so it's a really cool sort of experience to do one and have that trust in the other driver. That's really where you see these best of the best teams come out. It's that connection and that working relationship between the two drivers. They trust each other, they know how they drive, and one works the throttles and one works the wheel, and it's really a fantastic thing to look at, and something that I'm looking forward to doing next year.
Absolutely. In terms of when you've got the wheel in your hand in one of these cockpit boats with your mask on, just how much vision do you have, Ben?
Look, it's not a whole heap of vision. When the boat gets up on the plane, it's obviously better, but coming out of the pits, in any of these race boats, a lot of the biggest sports boats, it's pretty limited, but once you get going, it's not too bad.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, look, we're really going to be running out of time in this particular event, but make sure you remember we've got the Super Sports coming back out, and they'll be underway in just a little bit over half an hour. So we're going to be coming in. We're waiting for a checkered flag signal, and there we go. That would be the checkered flag signal, which means 222 are going to take out the Supercat Extreme, and we would imagine, unless something has happened, that Mantis will take out the Outboard. Well, they're a very polished outfit. The boat's very polished, and they've won the World Championship in the US, and they're going to take out the Australian Championship, you would think, for 2023. So there'll be even more stickers on the boat. That's a great thing for them. We're looking at the Mantis, who've probably got something in the order of 200 metres over AMT. So they've stretched that lead back out. Remember, AMT overtook them for a while. So that's a wonderful effort. This will really make the Commodore Anthony DeFina and Matt Kelly, the driver, absolutely delighted, because they've been wanting to do this all season, haven't they, Ben?
Absolutely right. They had the rough first few races with the new engines, but now that they've got them dialed in, they are an absolute team to beat. Really, really fast boat. It's great to see.
I reckon the banter inside the pits this evening will be amazing, especially between, obviously, the Mantis and the Sting. There we go. There's your winner and outboard. Well done. Give him a wave. That's the Mantis. Well done. Well done. Paul Folds and Andy Taylor coming across for second place. That's a really, really, really good thing to see. I can't say really enough, can I, really? And really's over in the pits, and he'll be laughing about now when he hears his name, really. So we're going to have a third place in the Sting. That's great. Those new motors have worked well. They've got new props. They've dialed in a package they think is about right. I suspect we're going to be seeing a little bit more from them tomorrow in terms of outright pace. And TCR, we're delighted that they've completed a race. Sometimes the gremlins haven't been so kind to them. They've completed one. Now we've just got to go and chase a bit more speed. You'll notice they're just not quite as fast as the others. They can be. There is potential there, and they've done it before. Well done, the Sting. Well done. That's Mike Ratcliffe and Carl Wall. Mike's driving, Carl's on the throttles. Great result for them. We're delighted for that. And coming through, we'll finish up with TCR. So that's really good for Steve Kelly. And with him is Scott Richardson. Scott, and there we go. There it is. Steve Kelly, part of the famous Kelly family. If it's boating and if it's racing, there'll be a Kelly somewhere involved in it. Well, there we go, Ben. That was a wonderful experience, and we'll hand over and make sure that everybody's set for the next round of the Super Sports in just a little while.
Absolutely, John. That was the completion of the first and only race today for the Supercat Extremes. Tomorrow we have 2 races for the Supercat Extremes, but join back in half an hour or there or thereabouts for the second race of our Super Sports boats, our 65 mile an hour and 85 mile an hour boats. It was great racing last race, and I can absolutely guarantee you it will be great racing this race. As we said, a breakout for Thunderstruck. They'll have the fire inside of them, and it's going to be great racing between our championship leaders. So stick around for the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships.